બટ સાહેબ તમારો અવાજ નથી આવતો.
Yeah, I have not started because the recording was not started. Yes, whether my screen is visible?
યસ સર.
Okay, thank you. So let me start with our first session on this Atal FDP on energy conservation and renewable energy for sustainable development. Topic of my first presentation is development of energy efficient, low cost air heaters for heat delivery up to 200 degrees centigrade. This is my outline of the presentation. I will start with the need of solar energy, where I will be elaborating something related to the energy crisis, emissions and global warming. Then we will understand the scope of solar energy. Then we will, before we move to the solar heater or any kind of solar collector, we need to first understand the principle of heat collection by solar collector. So to my understanding, that is the fundamental slide that one need to understand for the development of any solar fluid heaters. Then since the topic is on solar air heater, I will be concentrating towards the solar air heater only, and then we will briefly understand what have been developed by the people so far, and then I would present our work done by few of my PhD and MTech students. That is the development of evaporated glass tube based solar air heater. We developed the air heater without reflector. We developed the air heater with reflector. The reflectors are also of two kinds. The first category is the flat reflector, which are comparatively low cost, and then the next category is the air heater with parabolic reflector. Then we'll understand the thermal analysis. Say we conceived the solar air heaters and then we develop the thermal model from the fundamental, and I would be presenting the thermal analysis of this EGT based solar air heater, and then I would like to present the result of the experimental investigation and give some conclusion. As we all know, in November 2020, India's present installed capacity of electricity is about 372.4 gigawatt, where the share of renewable is about 17.3%. If you refer these numbers for past 5 years, the installed capacity of electricity is not increasing significantly. For example, during previous year, that is in 2019, this number was around 350 something. So there is a just meager addition of this installed capacity, but the real contribution that is catching up, that is coming from the renewable. The renewable contribution during previous year, that is in 2019, was around between 14 to 15%. Now that has increased to 17.3%. Frankly speaking, now we are not installing any coal-based thermal power plant. Mainly we are refurbishing, or if it is coal-based, then we move to the technology of supercritical boilers and supercritical technologies. The total electricity generation was about 1547 terawatt hour in 2018-19, and we have a good improvement as far as per capita annual electricity consumption. Before decade or so, we started with a humble number of around 600 kilowatt hour, and now in 2018-19 we have moved up to 1181 kilowatt hour. India is the third largest producer and consumer of electricity. Just for your information, as per the statement of Ministry of Power, we have a surplus energy. All our power plants are not working at full load because we have a surplus electrical energy, but the problem is distribution We could not distribute to single citizen, each and every single citizen of India. And of course, we have an ambitious project of electricity for all that will be, you can say, cherished very soon. If you talk about the total energy consumption, because apart from electricity, we also consume the energy mainly from the fossil fuel. So our per capita annual energy consumption is around 636.57 kilogram of oil equivalent. If you want some conversion for your ready reference, the conversion of 1 kilogram oil equivalent into kilowatt hour and megajoule is given for your ready reference over here. Now, of course, continuously we explore the fossil fuel reserves, and the number of the fossil fuel reserves is changing continuously. But the fact is that the availability of fossil fuel is very limited. In our power generation, the contribution of coal is around 76%, and some of the private companies, as you might be aware that some of the private companies who are owning the ultra mega power plant based on the supercritical technology, they are importing the coal because they feel that the Indian coal is not suitable for their ultra mega power plants. The hydro resources is also comes under the renewable, but remember one thing, the number 17.3, that is excluding the hydro resource. If you include hydro resource, that contribution will be around 27%. The 10% that is mentioned over here plus 17. Hydro resources can also be considered renewable, but that is when we prepare a report or when we present the number, at that time we don't include hydropower into renewable. The hydro resources are having their own problem of large deforestation, and initial cost is very high, environmental and social problem. And one of the best example of problems associated with hydro resources is the Sardar Sarovar project that is there at the Kevadia colony in Gujarat. It was targeted to be completed in a decade, but still you can say that it is not 100% over. The another option is one can thought of the nuclear power, but the nuclear power is also having its own demerits, and that could be the reason that its contribution in Indian power sector is only 2%. Now, if we look at the plus side of the conventional fuel, then the biggest advantage of the conventional fuel is high energy density, and that is the reason that retrofitting of our power plant is not possible. I hope you can understand the meaning of retrofitting. That means you cannot replace the boiler simply by the solar collector, because the solar collector, the energy density of solar energy is very less. So because that is how one should look at. If one would like to substitute something, for example in refrigeration, if one would like to replace the refrigerant, then first option should be retrofitting. Retrofitting means you use the existing infrastructure, only you just change some substance. So similarly in power generation also, because of the low energy density of the solar energy or any other renewable energy, the retrofitting is not possible, and that is the reason that that particular technology has to be developed at their own. Let's say that another merit of the conventional fuel is it is cheap, but as you know that the cost is governed by demand and supply. The so-called fossil fuel, our commonly fuel used in our automobile, petrol, diesel, since we are heavily depend on the import, so any price fluctuation takes place in the Middle East, okay, actually shoot up the prices of the petrol, diesel. Of course it is also governed by government taxes, but mainly it also depends upon one of the factor of cost is demand and supply. Ease of storage. It is easy to store the conventional fossil fuel, and it is convenient to use. We already have developed the technology to conveniently use the fossil fuel. But as you know that these fossil fuels are hydrocarbons, a mixture of hydrocarbons having complex chain of hydrocarbons. So when we burn it, when the combustion of this fuel takes place, the CO2, the carbon dioxide is emitted. Unfortunately, because of deforestation, because the trees are only source which convert the CO2 into oxygen. Unfortunately, because of urban civilization, deforestation, and because of our other activities, the conversion of CO2 into O2 has reduced to a great extent. At the same time, because of our development, the emission of the CO2 increases. And that is the reason that the normal concentration of CO2, which should be 0.03% in the ambient, that has now significantly increased. And that has caused the greenhouse effect. That does not allow the long wave radiation from the Earth's surface to escape to the sky. And I will not elaborate, but the consequences are known to us. The average temperature has rise. There is a melting of solar snow caps and other vector-borne disease and other ill effects we are already experiencing in this particular decade. Now let's fundamentally understand what is the solution to the problem. We have seen the two problems. Okay, so what is the solution to the problems? The first problem is one of the theme of this particular FDP, that is energy conservation. The energy conservation first is judicial use of the energy. We should not waste the energy by whatever way we produce, because it is, you must have heard several times that if you save the 1 unit of energy, that is equivalent to saving of around 3 to 4 unit of energy that is generated, because our overall efficiency, starting from conversion of fuel into electricity, and that is coming to our house, that overall efficiency is around 25%. So if you save the 1 unit of energy, that is equivalent to we are saving the generation of 4 unit of energy. So we should judiciously use the energy. Water, the second option is we should use the energy efficient appliances. The appliances may be heat or electricity operated. Now, of course, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency has started the star labeling, and of course, the higher the star rating, higher the initial cost, because to achieve the higher efficiency, the better components are to be used. But a good engineer should be in a position to make the simple calculation, and whatever is economically benefit, such kind of appliances should be used. For example, if your air conditioner consumption is less than 8 hours a day, then you may go up to 3-star rating. But suppose your daily consumption of the air conditioner is more than 8 hours per day, then of course you should go for 5-star rating, because in a long run, that means within 1 or 2 years, because we don't change the air conditioner for, let's say, 5 to 7 years, many people are using for 10 years. So ultimately you will be saving if you have a 5-star rating. Okay, but suppose you are using only for 3 to 4 hours a day, the 3-star could be better. But yes, of course, you should go for a star label product. Then the third option is we can go for waste heat recovery. There are many options. There are many applications where you require hot water or hot air. We can also run refrigeration and air conditioning plant based on the Sepson cycle, because you know that the vapor absorption and vapor adsorption cycle requires the heat rather than the electricity. And the fourth is that use better and better insulation. That is one of the lecture. Of course, today's last session will be on insulation. And the second broader option is another theme of this particular FDP, that is explore the other sources of energy, that is renewable energy. In renewable, mainly my talk is on solar. So I have first option presented as solar, and the solar thermal and PV technology can be used to use the solar energy, and other options are wind, biomass, mini and micro hydropower plants, geothermal, ocean. Now, if you talk about the solar energy, it is free of cost. Then the question that would immediately come to a good engineer's mind is that if it is freely available, why it is not used? Why still the share of this renewable energy? Why the share of this renewable energy is only 17%?
मैं बीच में जाऊंगा खाना खाने लाया तो हूँ टिफिन थोड़ा सा ही है एक रोटी थोड़ी सब्जी
All the participants are requested to mute their mic, please. Okay, so the problem is not the cost of energy, but the problem is that cost of the device which extract the energy. So during earlier days or in the present days also, if you use the older technology, then harvesting is costly. So that is the reason that the solar energy has not picked up. But now in subsequent slide, we will see, we will understand, we will digest that now the use of solar energy in any of the route, whether it could be a thermal or PV, it is not so costly. The harvesting is not so costly. The another advantage known to everyone is environment friendly, inexhaustible. The life of sun is practically infinite compared to the life that is expected of human being on this earth. The problem is low energy density. As I mentioned earlier, the solar energy, the energy density is very less. Per meter square, the insolation is, average insolation is around 700 to 750 watt per meter square. There is uncertainty in availability. If you burn the fossil fuel, there is a guarantee that the heat will be generated. But the solar energy depends upon many ambient parameters, and the solar energy is difficult to transport. So these are some of the merits and demerits of solar energy. And when you design any solar system, one has to live with this merits and demerits, and accordingly the system is to be designed. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a first example. This is a first example of now why the renewable sources has picked up. This figure represents the cost of solar PV cell per watt. Long back in 1977, the cost was as high as $76 per watt, and now it has come down to about $0.3 per watt. So that is the reason, as I mentioned earlier, the solar energy is free, but the devices which extract the solar energy were costly, and that is the reason that solar energy was not so popular during earlier days. Now it is picked up. The one of the reason is that it is low cost. Now the devices which convert the solar energy into useful heat or useful energy, they are becoming cheap. And as I mentioned here, the solar power is a technology, it's not a fuel. So if you deploy more and more solar energy, its cost will reduce. But in case of fuel, if you use more and more, it will become expensive. So that is just a contradiction between fuel and solar energy. Now let's quickly understand the potential of solar energy. The technical potential in India is 5,000 trillion kilowatt per year. Remember, this is not the number which one can get by multiplication of the total area of the India into average insolation into the possible conversion efficiency. No, it is a technical potential. Okay, so actually one can deploy the solar PV or solar collectors, and one can easily harvest 5,000 trillion kilowatt per year. Now here I would like to go back to the earlier slide. Okay, and I will request you people to just compare the second number. The total electricity generation in 1819 was 1547 terawatt hour, and the installed capacity is 372.4 gigawatt, and this particular number is 5000 trillion kilowatt hour. So this two number, when you compare this two number, one can easily understand that our entire need of country's energy can be made through solar energy. Only thing is that proper policy, proper equipments are to be installed, are to be implemented and installed. The installation of course vary across the various locations across the India, and the installation varies between 4 to 7 kilowatt hour per meter square per day. If I take example of my city Ahmedabad, the peak number is around 7.54 in the month of May, and average value is around 5.76. So these numbers are very useful. The average number and peak number, these numbers are very useful to design any solar system. It may be PV or it may be thermal. So when you design some solar devices, one is required to understand, or one should have a good understanding of this number. And that is one of the problem also, you can say, with solar system. Say if you have a boiler, and if you design a boiler for a particular type of coal, whether you install in Ahmedabad or whether you install in Kashmir or whether you install in Kanyakumari, it doesn't make much difference. But yes, if you want to design a solar collector for, let's say, Kashmir, Ahmedabad or Kanyakumari, your design would definitely, that means your area calculation would definitely different, because the solar installation is different at different location. So that is, you can say, another demerit of the solar system, that it has to be designed depending upon the place. It also depends upon the latitude. Okay, so all these factors are to be considered. Another advantage of solar energy is that ability to generate power on distributed basis, and we can add the multiple time. Say suppose today you have installed 30 megawatt solar power plant, and tomorrow suppose you want to increase this capacity to 50 or 60 megawatt, then you just need to add the similar modules or similar units. That is not possible in case of conventional power plant. Suppose today you have a power plant of 200 megawatt, and suppose you want to increase the capacity to 300 megawatt, it is not so easy. But that is very easy and convenient in case of solar power. If we use the area of the Thar desert, then it is sufficient to generate our India's need. Off-grid decentralized power generation for rural irrigation, of course, that is now the days are gone for off-grid decentralized power, because now the India has policy for grid connecting solar PV installation. So now off-grid decentralized power is not required even for rural electrification. Even for rural, the grid connectivity can be given. So whatever surplus power is there, that can be fed to the grid. And low temperature applications for heating and cooling for urban and rural area can also be catered using the solar energy, and few of the examples we will see over here. So now, since my talk is on solar collector, that means solar thermal energy, let's quickly understand certain applications of solar thermal. The list is not exhaustive, many other applications can be added. If I quickly zip through this particular slide and the applications, remember, with each application, I have mentioned the temperature, and that is the, you can say, uniqueness, or once again uniqueness or demerit, whatever you want to say, of solar collector, that depending upon your requirement, you have to change the design. Depending upon the requirement, you have to change the design. So if location changes, if your required temperature changes, you have to fundamentally design the solar collector. Okay. If I narrate quickly, is domestic and industrial water heating. That is very common application. We are using solar energy for domestic water heating and industrial water heating. Air heater for drying and similar applications. We use the solar energy for drying various grains, fruits, vegetables in the range of 60 to 90 degrees centigrade. The air heater can be used for painting shop also. When we do the powder coating, at that time, the temperature of around 150 to 200 degrees centigrade is required. One of the project that we executed is of drying the ore. Certain ores are having surface moisture as well as bounded moisture. Surface moisture can be easily removed, but the bounded moisture is difficult to remove. So we have designed, or we have implemented our solar collector for drying the ore for one of the company. Then the solar energy can be used for domestic and community cooking, not so popular in India right now. It can be used for active and passive solar steel up to 90 degrees centigrade, because mainly in solar steel we go for evaporation rather than boiling. So the temperature has to be less than 100 degrees centigrade. Low pressure process steam in the temperature range of 120 to 180 degrees centigrade. It can be used for refrigeration air conditioning by absorption and absorption cycles. Normally, the commonly used absorption and absorption cycle require temperature in the range of 120 to 150 degrees centigrade. But certain advanced absorption and refrigeration cycles are also being developed and have been implemented at few places, and they require the temperature up to 250 degrees centigrade. So for that you have to design the collector up to 250 degrees centigrade. Once again, not so popular, but yes, it can be used for power generation using organic Rankine cycle. Some of the applications are very popular. Some of the applications are not so popular. So something is not popular because it may not be viable, and it is our job to do the research and make it viable. And that is the reason that the mixed category of the thermal applications are presented over here. And the last one is the power generation using our conventional Rankine cycle, where heat up to 450 degrees centigrade can be required. Of course, if you use heat up to 450 degrees centigrade, you cannot go for a supercritical boiler, but yes, with high pressure or medium pressure boiler can be operated up to 450 degrees centigrade. Okay, now I would like to spend good amount of time on this particular slide, and my request to all the participants who are interested in developing any solar thermal device. Okay, the conclusion of this particular slide or understanding of this particular slide is very important. So I would say it is a principle of solar heat collection or principle of the energy conservation using solar thermal devices. It's a surface exposed to sun, and we are going to talk about the heat transfer model. So whatever is the shape of absorber, our solar collector absorber could be flat, or it could be circular, or it could be any other shape. Of course, the two popular shapes are, one can think of any of the shape, but mainly either it is a flat or it is a cylindrical shape. So when the solar radiation is falling on the absorber, there would be absorption of the solar radiation by the top surface. If it is a cylindrical shape, then the solar energy is absorbed by the projected area. For it is, suppose the diameter of the outer diameter of the surface is, let's say, d, then it would be d into the length. Okay, it will not be pi by 2d, because solar radiation is coming as a parallel radiation. So absorption of the solar radiation by the top surface. Then, because of the absorption of the solar radiation, the temperature of the absorber increases. And the fact is that when the temperature of any surface is higher than the ambient temperature, it obviously loses heat by way of convection and radiation. And if the absorber is in contact with any of the material, then it will lose the heat by conduction also. So there will be heat loss by conduction, convection and radiation by the top and bottom surface. Now you can understand the first two lines, the input is only from one surface, that is top surface, but there is loss from the top and bottom both the surfaces. So accordingly we need to take the precaution to get the higher efficiency of the collector. And very simple understanding of efficiency, output by input. So efficiency can be increased by increasing the heat absorption or by reducing the heat loss. That is very obvious. The third statement is obvious by the definition of efficiency. Let's understand. So let's is the you know that the heat absorb or heat absorption of solar radiation depends upon the type of the surface. So different colors are having different absorptivity. It depends upon the absorptivity of the surface, and different colors are having different absorptivity, different surfaces are having different absorptivity. And we have understood that the black surface is having good absorptivity. So the first thing the people used was they painted the absorber with black color. Now many a times it is found that those who are using the black paint, they are using the glossy thing, the oil paint they are using. So if it is glossy, color is black, but the absorption is not so high. So suppose if you are not going for the second option, that is selective coating, you should go for the matte finishing, not the glossy finishing. Normally we are tempted to, because it is easily available, the oil paint is easily available. So one is tempted to go for a oil paint, but one should go for a matte finish, because matte finish is having good absorptivity compared to the glossy finish. The second option is one can go for selective coating to increase the absorption. The selective coating is having one more advantage that we will discuss later on. Right now we are talking about the first option of increasing the heat absorption. So let's understand the advantage of selective coating with reference to heat absorption. So one simple funda is use the surface which has got higher absorptivity for the solar radiation, and the option could be black surface or it could be selective coating. Okay. Then the second option to increase the efficiency is in the category of reducing the heat losses. So now let's talk about the reducing the heat losses. You know that it is a very well fact that the conduction losses can be reduced by providing the insulation. If you use the insulation, they are bad conductor of heats, so they prevent the heat loss by conduction. That is a well-known fact. So the surfaces which are not exposed to the sun, basically the bottom surface, can be insulated, and that is normally we do in case of flat plate solar air heater or flat plate solar water heater. The bottom of the absorber is and side of the absorber is well insulated, so that the heat will not loss from the bottom as well as from the side. Then if you provide the glass cover, suppose we have a, let's take an example of flat absorber, and if you use the glass cover, then the glass cover will, the space, there would be enclosure between glass cover and the absorber, and the certain height or certain gap between glass cover and absorber will suppress the convection current to some extent compared to if glass cover were not there. So the glass cover reduces the convection losses. And the second option is we can evacuate the space between glass cover and absorber, because you know that some fluid is always required to have heat transfer no convection, and if there is a perfect evacuation, the heat loss by convection can be completely suppressed. Of course, in a collector where you have metal to glass seal, I repeat, in a collectors where you have a metal to glass seal, the maintaining the evacuation for a longer period is difficult. Okay, and that is the reason that the commercially available EGTs become very viable, because there is no metal to glass seal and vacuum is guaranteed for lifelong. Of course, they are very fragile, so one has to handle with very care, and that of course I will elaborate at appropriate section. The selective coating reduces radiation losses. So as I mentioned earlier, the selective coating is having good absorptivity in the range of 0.97 or so. But you know that according to Kirchhoff's law, the surface is having good absorptivity is also having good emissivity. So the surface which absorb more will also emit more. And that is the reason the black color is not only used where you require high absorption, but the black color is also used where you require high emission. For example, the engine cylinders are normally painted with black color. During earlier days, the condenser of domestic refrigerator was placed outside, so that condenser coil was also painted black, because there we don't want the absorption of heat, but there we want the emission of heat. So according to Kirchhoff's law, alpha is equal to epsilon. So the surface which absorb more also emit more. Now, if the collector surface emit more radiation, then of course the radiation would be higher and efficiency of the collector would be lower. So let's quickly understand what is selective coating. Many of you might be aware that what is selective coating. I will just explain in one or two sentences. They are special kind of coating done on the collector surfaces, absorber surfaces. They have a high absorptivity for short wave radiation, that is for solar energy. You know that solar radiations are short wave radiations. So they have a good absorptivity for the solar radiation. But they have a, since they are selective coating, special kind of coating, they have a low emissivity for long wave radiation. Our thermal radiation at coming from the collector surface or coming from the earth, they are the thermal energy, they are the long wave radiations. So select which has higher emissivity, higher absorptivity for solar radiation and lower emissivity for the thermal radiation. And that is the reason when there is radiation losses from the surfaces, it is proportional to a lower value of emissivity rather than the same value of absorptivity. And the last option is the reduction in absorber area, because we can have another option. We can have a more area to capture the solar radiation, and we have a less area for the absorber, because loss is proportional to the absorber area, and the incoming radiation is depending upon the aperture area. So when we have a aperture area more than absorber area, we can say that we have gone for the concentration. The collectors are concentrating collectors. Okay, so the last option is reduction in absorber area. It mainly reduces the convection and radiation losses, because the losses from the absorber, convection and radiation. Now, since it is the lectures and the FDP is delivered in a virtual mode, online mode, just to save the time, we will take up all the question answers at the end. You can note down your question along with the slide number. The slide numbers are given on each slide. So if you have any doubt, any question, of course, normally to break down the monotony, I should have a break at around 20-25 minutes. I have taken a long time. And once again, please excuse me for taking the question at the end. I will finish exactly at 1 hour and 20 or 25 minutes, and then we can the forum would be open for the question answer session. So just skipping this particular slide for 30 seconds, because as per my understanding, not necessarily that all will agree, but as per my understanding, this is very fundamental slide to design any solar thermal device. So let's quickly understand what people have already done. I will not spend much time because those who are working in this particular area, they are familiar with this technology. And I am not starting with a very simple design. It's a very simple design of the collector is where is better than the single pass. I have intentionally not presenting the single pass. In single pass, the air is coming from one end and leaving from the other end. And whatever modifications are done as far as absorber is concerned, that modification is done on the top surfaces. But since the modification is done over here and the top surface is in direct contact with the absorber, the heat losses are also more. So because of this fact, it is proved long back that the double pass solar air heaters are always efficient, are more efficient than the single pass. Now, in solar air heater, let's understand how the air is heated. There is a solar radiation falling on absorber plate. The absorber plate is heated, and the fluid, which is air, is extracting heat from the heated absorber. So the heat transfer will depend upon the absorber area, absorber temperature, average air temperature, and the convective heat transfer coefficient and convective heat transfer coefficient between air and the absorber plate. I think this fundamental should be enough to understand. So now, for same area and same temperatures, if we go for the staggered fin, for same convective transfer coefficient for same delta T, if you go for a fin, that is extended surface, then of course the heat transfer area increases, and so the heat transfer increases and we can get little higher air outlet temperature. So the first modification that people have done is the staggered fin. Then another option is that rather than staggered fin, one can go for longitudinal fin also. So the longitudinal fins are provided over here. The third option is that we can go for a porous media. Because the porous media is having more surface area exposed to the fluid. But at the same time, the pressure drop, the pumping power is also higher. The fourth option is packed bed, where the wire mesh kind of things are placed either in a first pass or in a second pass. It's a parallel flow packed bed. Then this is double pass packed bed, where air is coming from one end, passing through the packed bed, taking a U-turn at the close end, and then leaving at the same end. Intentionally, I am not discussing the various nomenclature which are given on various figure. Of course, here is not there, but here some nomenclature. This is basically the figure is taken from a reputed reference, and the figure is presented with reference to thermal model of the solar air heater. Okay, so HW could be a wind heat transfer coefficient. H means convective losses between absorber and glass cover, or like kind of things. Then we have a double pass. Fin plate. So we have a absorber plate. We have a fin on both the side. And here in this design and in this design, here the 1 and 2 glasses are there. Here also 1 and 2 glasses are there. Now the number of glass covers are normally is to be also to be optimized. When we have a non-evaporated type of collector, the number of glass covers are also to be optimized, because on one hand the glass cover reduces the convection losses, at the same time they are not perfectly transparent. So they also reduce input, because when the solar radiation is passing through two glass cover rather than one glass cover, it is very obvious that the solar radiation reaching to the absorber reduces. So on one hand loss increases or loss reduces, but incoming radiation also reduces. So you have to have an optimization. So it's a one kind of thermal optimization problem also. One more thing, when you go for a fin on top surface, people have done the experiment. People have presented good result also, rather better result also. But my apprehension and my comment is that if you use a fin at the top surface, on the top surface, your performance should not be so good during early morning and early and late evening hours, because there would be shadow effect. First thing, you need to properly design the height of the fin so that the shadow of the two adjacent fin does not hinder or does not deteriorate the performance of each other. One will deteriorate the performance of the adjacent fin in the morning, and the second one will deteriorate the performance of the adjacent fin in the evening hours. Only the design is having good output very close to the solar node, So frankly, if you are in 6 to 7 hours of solar operation with the solar collector, you should think at least twice before placing the fin on the top surface, top of the absorber, specifically when the absorber is of the flat kind. Even with the cylindrical also, I don't agree with that. Then we have a double pass recorrugated plates. So this corrugation not only increases the surface area of the absorber, but it also increases the turbulence. So it also increases the H, convective transfer coefficient. So we could have a double advantage. But it is also associated with the higher pressure drop. So always there is some optimum. So if you summarize, intentionally I am not, there are two popular design of evacuated solar air collector, or it could be used as a solar air heater. That is, one design is ICPC, developed by Gelger and team in USA, and another is ISEC design, that is very similar to our older incandescent lamp, that is developed by Snell and others, that is also in USA. My target was earlier, up till now my target was to present you some of the earlier design of the non-evacuated things. Evacuated, very few designs, two designs are there, but I have not included over here. One can note down ICPC and ISEC. If you Google it, you can easily get the figure and literature regarding these two particular designs. Now, in a nutshell, what people have tried up till now is they have used the insulation to reduce conduction losses. They have used the glass cover 1 or 2 to reduce convection losses, but it also reduces absorption of solar radiation. They have used a selective coating to reduce radiation losses, and rather than natural convection, if you go for forced convection, the H increases, that means heat removal increases, thus air temperature also reduces because more mass is circulated. So heat capacity of the fluid increases, so delta T of the fluid decreases. So temperature reduces, so delta T between fluid temperature and ambient temperature reduces, and hence heat loss reduces, and hence efficiency increases. I hope you can understand. Should I repeat? I moved little fast. If you go for forced circulation, the heat removal increases. When the heat removal is increasing, the temperature may increase or may decrease. Normally in flat bed collector, temperature reduces because the effect of higher heat capacity is dominant, because when you have forced circulation, the M increases, so the product of MCP increases. So normally the effect of H is not so significant in flat collectors compared to the effect of MCP. Okay. Say to, of course, in our design, I will tell you about the critical mass flow rate. A critical mass flow rate is just like critical insulation. A critical mass flow rate is a mass flow rate that we define on both the side. If you increase or decrease the mass flow rate, your performance will have a you can say bell kind of shape. Okay, that of course with number I will discuss little later. So since air temperature reduces, the temperature difference between air and ambient reduces, and hence ultimately the heat loss reduces, which increases the efficiency. So normally it is proved that for forced circulation, the efficiency is higher than the natural circulation. So that is what the conclusion is. Now, let's spend some time on, of course, we have decided to boycott the Chinese product, but that is still we are not in a position to manufacture this glass tube, evaporated glass tube in India. Few have started, but they fail miserably. So if you want to use this technology, you have to still depend on the China, unfortunately, but yes. So China has come up long back, probably in 2002 or so, they have come up with this evaporated glass tube. It has excellent solar thermal conversion and very low heat loss. As I mentioned earlier, the unique feature of this all glass, it was actually popular as all glass evacuated tube collector. All glass means because the earlier two design, as I mentioned, which I didn't present, ISEC and ICPC, they have on both the ends, they have a metal to glass seal. They have a oil ring, and through the oil ring, the two ends are made up of metals. So that metal to glass seal is there, and because of metal to glass seal, a continuous purging unit is required. So as soon as you feel that the vacuum is lost, the performance of the collector deteriorates, you start the purging unit and you once again evacuate the space between absorber and cover. The reason, I repeat, I narrate once again, it is metal to glass seal. Now, in this all glass, at both the end, the glass is fused together and there is no metal to glass seal. So if you handle this particular evacuated glass tube with care, the vacuum, the life of the vacuum is claimed as high as 15 years. Okay, now it is available in 3 different sizes now. Earlier it was available in 2 different sizes. Now it is available in 3 different sizes. But I have presented the number which we have used during our experimentation. So the diameter of the cover tube, absorber tube, transmission of the cover tube, length and other important parameters are narrated over here. And you must agree that before starting, when something is available, and if you application, when I say certain application, certain temperature is in mind. So when you design it for a certain temperature, obviously the first thing what you need to do is that you can check it for stagnation temperature. So what we did is we close the mouth. We actually close the mouth and we inserted thermocouple, 2 thermocouple at different length of the ETC, and we found that average stagnation temperature around 246 degrees centigrade. Of course, what is claimed by this particular company is 200 degrees centigrade, but that is at particular insolation. It may possible that when we perform the experiment, the insolation could be higher. So we got temperature up to 246 degrees without reflector. Okay. So you know that the actual working temperature is much lower than the stagnation temperature. Actual working temperatures are much lower depending upon the fluid circulation method, that is natural and forced. Depending upon the heat extraction mechanism, the actual temperature could be 20 to 40% of the stagnation temperature. Of course, these numbers are also vary. One cannot give the thumb rule that your temperature, your actual temperature, working temperature or average fluid temperature would be 10% or 20% or 40% of your stagnation temperature. That number cannot be given. The number which I mentioned is based on our experiment, is of our experience. Okay. So, but of course, one can get the feel that if you want to use it, this ETC for higher temperature, you need to concentrate. You need to concentrate. We got the initial feel that it should be concentrated. One should go for a concentration, but we thought that we will also test it without reflector also, without concentration also. Now, as a good engineer, you know that to have certain application in mind, to develop a collector, first you need to design it, or when you have some conceptual design in your mind, you should predict the performance. So just like this all heat transfer, okay, we have also prepared a thermal model. I am coming to this particular slide in a minute. A simulation program or thermal model has been prepared. Efficiency of collector, and that too without reflector, different reflectors. The different reflector that we have tried is 3-segment, 5-segment, and parabolic with different concentration ratio. Of course, in this particular presentation, I am going to talk about only parabolic reflector with concentration ratio about 2. The simulation is done from the first principle. That means we actually write the equations, fundamental equations based on the heat transfer principle, and various heat transfer rate are evaluated to predict the efficiency, useful heat collected, and very important, cost per unit heat collected. Normally in solar system, as per our opinion, not only the efficiency, but the cost per unit heat collected is very important. And many a times when people do the research only from the academic perspective, I repeat, when you do the research only from the academic perspective, we are not developing a product for the society. So rather than efficiency and the amount of heat that is collected, what is more important is the cost per unit heat collected at a given temperature, at a required temperature. And that is the reason, now sequentially we move further, or rather we have moved from without reflector to 3-segment reflector to 5-segment reflector to parabolic reflector, because the common funda that I have digested is that if a lower concentration collector can give you your desired output, you should not go for unnecessarily higher concentration ratio. Normally, once the application is fixed, it is very obvious, or rather it is quite obvious, that this requirement is not going to change substantially in a shorter or a longer future, near or a further future. Our beauty is that we have used helical Wiley turbulator between the absorber tube and a metal tube. So remember one thing, as you can see over here, this evaporative collector is having only one opening. The other end, the farther end, is the closed one. So you need to insert one metal tube, where since the working fluid is air, we refer it as the air tube. So one metal tube is to be inserted to create the fluid passage. So air will enter either from the air tube, take a U-turn at the, and it is coming out from the annulus between absorber tube and air tube. The temperatures which are significant, for the thermal models are fluid inlet temperature, fluid outlet temperature, temperature of the air tube, at inner surface, temperature of air tube at outer surface. So remember one thing, we have developed a thermal model with minimum assumption. Here one can assume that the conductivity of air tube is very high. So these two temperatures are equal to simplify the model. And after that also we have seen in our model that these temperatures are very close to each other. Then the second is temperature of inner tube inner, that is absorber tube inner. There is a temperature of absorber. This is very significant, so we have not used the common nomenclature. Then temperature of outer tube inner and temperature of outer tube outer. So outer surface of the cover tube or outer glass tube and inner surface temperature of the glass tube. So this 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 4, 8 temperatures are significant. And of course 2 more. One is ambient temperature and the last one is the temperature. The sky temperature is required because there would be radiation losses from this particular cover, and to take care of the convection losses, this ambient temperatures is required. Now, I have written only important equation of the thermal model. The exhaustive thermal model or all the equations to compute the thermal efficiency and useful heat collected, and based on the cost of the collector, cost per unit heat collected, these 3 numbers we calculated. So all the equations which are necessary to compute these 3 numbers are not presented over here because it would be more than 30-40 slides and it would make the presentation lengthy, and one can a gentleman thorough with a thermal engineering background could easily understand the thermal model, and they can think of what all equations are required or what all trial errors are required to make the calculations. So what we want to compute the efficiency of the solar collector, which is given by ratio of useful heat to the radiation intercepted. Radiation intercepted is given by the aperture area into solar insolation. The heat collected, useful heat collected by air, can be computed by a simple equation which we have been using again and again, that is mCp delta T. Heat loss from the outer tube due to convection and radiation. So convection losses from outer tube to ambient can be computed using this equation, HO into area of outer tube into TOT minus T ambient. Of course, the nomenclature is slightly different. So you have an assumption that the conduction losses are less. The conduction heat transfer is not so significant. So you can assume TOTO is equal to TOTI. If you are not assuming, then this number would change as TOTO. I repeat, if you assume that the conduction through glass tube is not significant, conductivity is not so low, it is low but not so low, lower than the air tube but not so low because thickness is also very less. So when you simulate it, these two temperature would be very close to each other. So simple assumption is that you assume it as a one surface. If you consider the two different surfaces, this equation will change, this notation will change as TOTO, and same nomenclature will change over here. So these are the simplified equation for the first understanding. If you when one gain the grasp of the first understanding, he or she can go on modifying the equations and including the complications. Similarly, radiation losses can be computed using this particular equation, epsilon emissivity of the outer tube into Stefan Boltzmann constant, and you know that the radiation losses are proportional to the power 4 of the temperatures. So the difference is convection is to radiation is with the sky. Able to compute the sky temperature from the ambient temperature. The popular simple equation is T ambient minus 6 degrees centigrade. But now in last 5 years, one or two more equations are proposed by various researchers to find out the sky temperature. But of course, my observation is whether you use this modified equation or this equation, a simple equation, the difference is not going to be significant. Then the heat absorbed in outer tube and reflected from it can be computed using last two equations. This is heat absorbed by the outer tube, and this is heat reflected from the outer tube. Now, I think rather than explaining you the this equation, I should first explain you what actually happening. So let's start with that. Sorry to change the sequence, but quickly I should explain you the working. So solar radiation is falling on this collector. When it falls on this particular surface, since it is a glass, its transmittivity is high. Mainly it will transfer and it will strike, or it will be going or reaching to the absorber tube. Depending upon the transmittivity and absorptivity, certain heat, solar heat would be absorbed, and then certain heat would be reflected back. Certain heat would be reflected back. Now, let's say 90%, it's a rough number. Let's say the 90% of the heat is coming over here. So upon the absorptivity, certain amount of heat is absorbed. Let's say once again it is 0.9. So 0.81% of the total and 90% of what is reaching over here, amount of heat is absorbed. And then since selective coatings are selective coating is provided, certain radiation would be there. Now between these two tubes, it is evacuation. So the only way by which the absorber can reject heat or lose heat to the outer tube is by radiation. So there would be radiation from the absorber tube. Now because of the absorption of the solar radiation, this glass tube is heated, and eventually the heat is conducted to the inner surface, and that is carried away by the air while passing through the annulus between absorber tube and air tube. Okay. So that is actually how this solar aerator based on this particular design are working. So we need to estimate various heat transfer, who I have already explained. So there would be heat loss by the reflection, and there would be some absorption. So it is given by these two numbers. Then the heat absorbed by the inner tube or heat absorbed by the absorber tube is given by, say, Qi is incident, Q absorbed in outer tube, Q reflected from outer tube. So the net is reaching, and depending upon its absorption amount of heat is mentioned earlier, only radiation losses would be there. So this radiation losses from the absorber tube is given by this particular equation, and the effective emissivity, that is from the principle normally we learn in heat transfer, effective emissivity for two concentric cylinder. This design is basically two concentric cylinder. So we are required to compute the effective emissivity. So this effective emissivity can be given by this particular equation, and the useful heat collected by air can be written as average heat transfer coefficient between absorber and air into area of the inner tube into average absorber temperature minus average fluid temperature, that is average air temperature. So you need when you do the iteration, ultimately the Q useful given by this equation and Q useful given by this equation would be equal. Initially you have to start with some assumption, you have to go for iterations. Now here I have not presented all the equations, but you can understand that one need the equation of HO with the similarly also here also one need to find out this H average under different condition. The flow condition could be laminar, the flow condition could be turbulent, the fluid is air. So depending upon the Reynolds number and Prandtl number, one has to use the appropriate correlation. So it is 11, so it is 12:20. So I am taking 5 to 10 minutes more of yours. I will skip or I will simply zip through certain reflectors or certain collectors. So this is first, as I told you earlier, we have based on this particular design, simple design, we have fabricated a solar air heater with these 10 tubes. Solar air heater with these 10 tubes. And you can see that it was tested for 4 mass flow rate. When the mass flow rate was around 23 kg per hour, the maximum air outlet temperature was achieved around 117 degrees centigrade. Corresponding inlet temperature was 48 degrees centigrade. You might be thinking that it is higher than the ambient temperature. It is higher than the ambient temperature because the lots of material which takes the heat, which takes the air to the collector. So we have measured the temperature at inlet to the collector because that is actually the contribution. So it's not ambient temperature because the material of construction which takes the air to the collector also exposed to the sun, its temperature is also higher. So many people compute the efficiency based on the ambient temperature. That is also wrong. Suppose the ambient temperature is around 35 or 40 degrees centigrade, you will have an advantage of 8 degrees centigrade rise, which is not a contribution of collector, but many people consider it is as a contribution of the collector. It is not actually the contribution of the collector. The corresponding insulation was about 1000 watt per meter square, and not the instantaneous efficiency. Instantaneous efficiency I have intentionally not presented, that one can easily calculate from these 3 equations, MCP delta T and this insulation. So I have presented the average daily efficiency around 65%. Around 65%. Now, if you reduce the mass flow rate, let's say around 16 kg per hour, I am getting higher temperature. Insulation is almost same, but efficiency reduces. Efficiency reduces because my temperature has increased. My temperature has increased means there is a significant impact of or considerable impact of the heat capacity of the air. Further, if I reduce the mass flow rate, my temperature further increases, insulation almost same, efficiency decreases. So that's a common conclusion, that as you reduce the mass flow rate, you will get the higher temperature. For almost same radiation, your efficiency reduces. At the same time, you are getting higher temperature. So if your requirement is higher temperature, you have to make a compromise that your efficiency would be lower. Now see over here, we still further reduce the temperature. Okay, you can see the temperature is now not increasing, it reduced. Insulation is almost same and efficiency is very less. Okay, so between these two, there is a mass flow rate. Where you get the maximum temperature. Above that mass flow rate, your temperature increases. Below that mass flow rate, once again temperature decreases. The reason is, as I mentioned earlier, at lower mass flow rate, your heat capacity is less. But at the same time, because of the lower mass flow rate, your Reynolds number is less, your convective heat transfer coefficient is less, and because of that, the heat removal is less. Okay, so that is the reason that these two equations are very important. Your mass flow rate is less, so your delta T should be higher. But because of the lower mass flow rate, your H is less, so Q useful is less, and that is the reason that this delta T is less, because this Q useful is less. So one need to be very careful that your collector is not falling or not having this bell kind of or critical kind of characteristics. Then we actually gone for the 3-segment reflector. The two reflectors are at a 45 degree centigrade and the base is equivalent to or equal to the inner diameter. And this design ensure that all the parallel radiation, you know that when the collector is designed, the design is done based on the parallel radiation. It is not done for the, of course, many times the ray tracing diagram is done, but the initial design is done for the parallel radiation. So when the two reflector has a 45 degree centigrade, we can ensure that all the radiation falling on the aperture reaches to the absorber. And this is the performance curve. Quickly, if I zip through the certain number, when the flow rate was 62 LPM, the temperature was about 104 degrees centigrade during daytime. So let's say for 7 hours solar operation, suppose your temperature requirement is only 100 degrees centigrade and above. You should not go for higher concentration, only 3 segments should serve the purpose. That is what I wanted to tell you. Similarly, if you increase the mass flow rate, your temperature is above 98 degrees centigrade. Okay, so your requirement is around 90-95 degrees centigrade. The same collector can be used, same design can be used at a higher mass flow rate. Then we went to the 5 segment. These 2 segments are at 30 degree and these 2 segments are at 60 degree. With this design also you can ensure that all the radiation, all the parallel radiation falling on aperture concentrate the radiation on the absorber, and this is the performance curve. And for 7 hours solar operation, the temperature was about 175 degrees centigrade with efficiency pretty high. The concentration 6. Here I would like to mention that this higher efficiency is attributed to a good reflector. In this case, the reflector was having low reflectivity. So when you go for a concentrating collector, the reflectivity of the reflector also plays a major role. Because suppose your concentration is, let's say 2. Okay, your concentration is, let's say 2. In such kind of collector, you can say that the 50% of the solar radiation is directly falling on the, or rather less than 50% is directly falling on the absorber and more than 50% is falling on the reflector. So suppose reflector is, or suppose you reduce it from 0.9 to 0.8, the input to the absorber will significantly reduce. So this higher efficiency, you should better, those who are very comfortable with the subject, they should immediately raise the query that for 5 segment, just by increasing the concentration 1 to 1.6, your performance is very good. The performance is very good because for this particular setup, I just want to share you, for this particular setup, we have used a very good reflector. We have used the sheet made by the Almaco, Germany. Okay. And it was a fresh sheet, so reflectivity was very pretty high. The reflectivity that we measured in the laboratory in a reflective test is around 94 to 96%. In earlier case, it was around 0.8%. Now it is 0.95%. So that is one of the reasons for higher performance over here. And one can see that with 90 LPM also you can get temperature above 170 degrees centigrade for 7 hours of solar operations. Then it is a parabolic collector. These are the simulation results, and this is our testing result. What we have done is we have tested 2 collectors with parabolic reflector, one with fin and other without fin, because we want to determine the performance improvement using the fin. Initially we tested for same mass flow rate. So when you test both the collector for same mass flow rate, obviously the temperature of air coming out from the collector with fin is higher compared to the temperature of air coming out from the collector without reflector. So because of the temperature difference, the efficiency of the collector with fin, though the temperature is higher, but efficiency was almost 2.1 times higher. Okay. But the true comparison is that when you want to make a comparison, your thermal performance should be same. So thermal performance is same is that means they should be tested for same air outlet temperature. They should be tested for same requirement. So when one tests it for same requirement, that is for same air outlet temperature, you have to adjust the flow rate. I am not telling that you have to reduce the flow rate or you should increase the flow rate, because earlier we have seen that there could be some critical mass flow rate. So you have to adjust the volume flow rate to get the approximate same temperature. And when both the collectors are tested for same air outlet temperature, the efficiency difference was almost 2.6 times. That means efficiency of collector with fin was 2.6 times higher than efficiency of fin without efficiency of collector without fin. So I can understand that because of the time constraint, I have to quickly zip through the collector performance. But anyway, still, if you need out any question, we can. So that's all with my session. Now you can unmute your mic and we can take up the few questions. Yes, any question?
Sir, how to calculate the concentration ratio?
Pardon?
How to calculate the CR?
The concentration ratio is defined as aperture area by absorber area. Okay, so for example, in this case, the absorber area is pi d into L, and aperture area is this particular width, that is approximately 153 mm into length. So length will get cancelled out. So it is 153 divided by pi into d. So 47 into pi. So 47 into pi is approximately equal to 153. So that is the reason that concentration ratio is 1. So here I would like to add one more thing, that many people say that the concentration ratio of this ETC, bare ETC, this bare ETC is 1. Okay, the many literature says that this concentration ratio of ETC is 1. I would say it is not 1, it is 1 upon pi, because absorber loss is there from the absorber. So absorber area is pi d and aperture area is only d. So it is d divided by pi d. So the concentration ratio as mentioned by many literature is equal to 1. I would say it is not equal to 1. My argument is it is 1 upon pi. So you can argue that how come the concentration ratio is less than 1, but yes, that is a fact. That is by definition. Yes, any other question?
Also, this is Karthikeyan.
Pardon? Yeah.
This is Karthikeyan, Professor. I have one question. You emphasized on characteristics of the base material. Apart from the surface coating, the base material, whatever we are choosing for the collectors, would also be capable of absorbing high radiation.
No, sir. Actually, no, sir. Actually, okay. Sorry. You just first finish. Sorry, sir. You finished.
Could you list a few characteristics that are highly desirable when we go for selecting a base metal or material in order to ascertain high absorption of radiation heat, apart from the coating?
No, actually, my statement is mistaken. I said that the surface characteristic, the base material could be anything. Say the base material could be aluminum sheet or MS sheet. What is important is the characteristic of the surface. It is painted with a red color or black color or selective coating. That is important. If you have understood that it is a importance of the base material, sorry, it is not important base material. The base material could be any. It could be aluminum sheet or it could be MS sheet. What you provide on that particular surface is important.
Yeah. When we go for deploying this kind of a collectors to transfer heat to water, I believe that the base material, whatever we use, would also contribute factor.
Sir, actually, yeah, I agree with that. So, but as far as solar absorption is concerned, base material has having minimum role to play. But ultimately, this base material is in contact with the fluid. So, obviously, the base material should be compatible with the fluid that is used.
Okay, Professor. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, any other question? So if there is no question in a gap of 30 seconds, I will presume that there is no question left with the participant, and then we will close the session.
Sir,
Yes, Sailesh.
sir, selective coating have a emissivity 0.97 and
No, no, no.
black
Bolo, bolo, bolo.
black surface having emissivity 1. So why we are going for the selective coatings?
So say absorptivity of black surface is not equal to 1. Absorptivity of perfect hypothetical black surface, the imaginary black surface, the complete black surface is only 1. Even the black paint or black surface that we use, its absorptivity is not equal to 1. The advantage of selective coating is that it is having low emissivity. So suppose let's take a very simple example. Suppose you have black paint or black surface, simple black surface having absorptivity 0.95. You also have a selective coating having absorptivity 0.95. So they will absorb, their absorption capacity would be same. But when the surface is at higher temperature, the radiation from the black surface, simple black surface, is proportional to 0.95, while the radiation losses from the selective coated surface is proportional to 0.1. So in my equation, the radiation losses is proportional to emissivity. So emissivity is less by 90%. So the radiation losses less by 90%. In earlier case, radiation loss is proportional to 0.9. In second case, radiation loss is proportional to 0.1. So it is almost 9 times lower. Is it clear, Sailesh?
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Anybody else?
સર પેલો ફ્લોરેટ ઘટાડ્યો છેલ્લે તો એફિશિયન્સી કઈ રીતે ઘટી થોડું ન સમજાણું.
Okay. Let me take you to this particular slide. Say the air outlet temperature word. Say when I'm narrating in a simple word, all the statement may not be technically correct. Most of the statement would be technically correct, but all the statement may not be technically correct. But I'm simplifying the words so that you can easily understand. You can get the first information very easily. Say when you, let's say, increase the mass flow rate, what will happen? Your heat capacity of air increases.
ઓકે.
Also, your convective heat transfer coefficient also increases. Under steady state condition, this Q useful and this Q useful is equal. Okay, because whatever heat is removed or collected by the collector or absorber, that is used to increase the temperature. Okay.
Okay.
Now it may possible that when you reduce the mass flow rate, this heat capacity reduces. So your delta T should increase, provided this Q useful is not reduced significantly. But it may possible that when you reduce the mass flow rate, your convective heat transfer coefficient decrease significantly.
Okay.
And
Okay.
hence the Q useful is also reduced significantly, and your temperature decreases rather than increases.
Okay. Okay.
Something is clear? It seems that you are my student. It seems that you are my student. So, or otherwise my mail ID was there in the first slide. My mail ID, I can repeat, nmbut19@gmail.com. After every expert session, I say that if still you have any question, you can always send mail to nmbut19@gmail.com. In past, my career is 25 years long. I started delivering expert lecture before 20 years. So in this last 20 years, I get only 3 mails after delivering expert lecture. I hope you can understand. So if you find out any question, you can always free to mail me.
Yes, sir.
Within a day, you will get the reply. That is my guarantee.
Great,
Yes,
sir. Great.
Yes, other question?
Good morning, sir. I want to see slide number 31 and 33 for print screen for latest
Yes.
study.
Just a minute. Slide number?
31.
1 31. Okay, let me just check. 31. Okay.
Okay, just a second, sir.
Yeah.
And 33.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. You have taken the pic?
Yes, sir. Print screen, 4-letter study. Theater
No,
of study.
it is open. It is available in open literature, not an issue.
Okay, okay, sir.
Nothing to hide. Don't worry. Of course, just for information, we have modified this product design. Huh? It is parabolic, but we have optimized the location of this particular tube with reference to this reflector. This is the initial phase. Just for information. What we have done, that also, if you are really interested, you can mail me.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay. Yes. Any other question? Professor Himanshu Patel or Mr. Himanshu, are you faculty?
Yes, sir. I am
Where?
from Dairy Engineering College, Dudhsagar Dairy, Mehsana.
Mehsana. Yes, I think we should close the session because we have a next session in line at 1:30.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Anambhat sir, for the valuable session, and thank you very much all the participants. So we are meeting sharp at 1:30 with Dr. R.G. Kapadia sir's session. I request all to join only one meeting. I have sent an email also. Please do not join any other meeting in the schedule. You can always join all the meeting, but you will not get anyone there. So please, I request everyone to join only the scheduled meeting, which is at 1:30. So we are meeting at 1:30, and the link is always with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.